I want you to know that for far too many of our students in our community, the school is truly viewed as their home. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity personally to hear Manny's story and actually meet with him a little bit. I was deeply moved and inspired by what I heard. As an educator, it further validated for me the importance of the work that I do in the institution that I represent, public education. But it also inspired me as a community member to think about how important it is for all of us to care more about one another. You see, Manny was the young man that a lot of us might see on the street somewhere with a sign asking and begging for help, which unfortunately so many of us would avoid when we would see him coming. Manny was also the young man that would stand on the corner begging for food. And Manny shared with me this, that when he was really desperate and he was really hungry, he would go into the dumpsters right outside of his home around Los Angeles and he would seek out food. But what I learned from Manny was something really incredible, that in Manny's world, poverty was not necessarily the lack of money. It was the lack of access to people that could help you. Manny also said something else to me that I thought was very profound as an educator and a community member like you. And that was, if you have not met someone like himself, someday you will. And what are you going to do? I am so thankful as an educator and a superintendent to belong to a profession of hope, a place that believes in the potential of all students, a place that believes that regardless of a student's demographics, we believe that they can be successful. Public education was not simply designed to serve the public, unlike a lot of people think. It was designed to create it. Think about that just a second. Too often, I don't think we put enough thought and importance into that idea that public education was designed to create the public. Public education also serves as a fundamental part of the American dream. As Horace Mann once said, who is considered to be the father of modern-day education, education beyond all other devices of human origin is the greatest equalizer of the conditions of man. That's powerful. Think about that. Well, public education is truly something that plays a very big, or has a very big footprint in society. And I want to give you some data to talk about that, to provide a context for my message this evening. First of all, public education in this country, there are about 15 million plus students who call public education home. In our own state of Oklahoma, of the 680,000 students that we have that are school-age students, around 90% attend a public school. And within our own city, we have 170,000 students who call at least one of the 15 schools in Tulsa home. As you can see, that's a pretty big footprint that public education plays in terms of our societies and our communities. And this we also know, that a city and a state's quality of life and economic viability are highly related to the investment that we truly make in this institution called public education. As Jonathan mentioned, we obviously are dealing in a very tough time right now in public education. We're in a storm, and like I tell my administrators, storms don't last forever. At least I hope not. But there are three forces that we are dealing with. One is that of engagement. As community members, I think oftentimes we think, wow, schools are rich in terms of people who want to help us and be a part of it. That's not true. Nearly 75% of the public do not have a child in school. And we all know as parents that as our students matriculate up through our grades and school and when they graduate, that the support that we once had from them, that is if you're so fortunate to have that support, falls off precipitously. The other thing we deal with, force, is inadequate funding and support for our teachers and our students, especially our growing student population who come to us with very complex social issues. This we know, that at schools we have to be well prepared and equipped to deal with students socially, emotionally, as well as academically. But perhaps the greatest enemy that we all face in our community in this state is something called poverty, where 1 in 4 children live, and almost 2/3 qualify for free and/or reduced lunch in our schools. Poverty is not the absence of money, folks. It's the absence of hope. And what I learned from Manny, it's also the absence again, or it's the lack of access to people that can help you. Schools, obviously, have an ethical obligation to lead the way into the future. We have to create a sanctuary where threats of harm and hunger and poverty do not exist, where civility and respect are modeled, and where diversity is treasured, and where quality and opportunities exist for all. Unfortunately, the dominant narrative about schools has not been about the importance of the community. I think we all overlook how large a role we all play, and by all I mean this: society, businesses, organizations, and certainly our faith-based partners. Think about that. We know this, that if communities and schools can work together and a school can rely on a community's support, amazing things can happen for our kids. If you simply think that public schools can do this alone, you're wrong. It's too heavy of a lift for us, especially in the time we're facing right now in public education. Yes, indeed, our children are our future, but the reality is we are their future. And their success in life will greatly impact us all. In closing, let me read something to you that is very meaningful to me. And you can see that I've used it on many times. From one of America's greatest thinkers, statesmen, and diplomats who talked about the importance of education. He says this, that the good education of youth has long been established and esteemed by wise men in all ages as the surest foundation of the happiness of both private families and of commonwealths. Almost all governments have therefore made it a principal object of their attention to establish and endow with proper revenues, I'm going to say it again, with proper revenues, such seminaries of learning as might supply the succeeding age with people qualified to serve the public with honor to themselves and to their country. That was Benjamin Franklin in 1749, and I think his words then are even more true today about us in terms of investing in public education. Ladies and gentlemen, don't give up on public education. It is still the greatest equalizer of the conditions of mankind. And to give up on public education would not only be suggesting that you're giving up on our community, you are giving up on students like Manny Scott. Thank you very much.